Alright everyone, in this video I'm going to take a look at just building a little bit of a camera rig, and we're going to create some controls on it instead of just using groups so that it's easier to click on the different rotation controls and move it around without having to navigate through your hierarchy all the time. So I'm actually going to start this not in Maya, but in Adobe Illustrator. And I'm going to create some shapes there to import and use as my controls, instead of making something to control with in Maya. And I'm going to import those as NURBS curves, but they're going to be created in Illustrator. So in an Illustrator, I already made this shape that looks like this, which if I swap the stroke and the fill, you can see that it'll end up being, just thin outlines with nothing in the middle, which is what I want it to be like in Maya, because NURBS don't have, fill color. And so how I made this, you can make, however you want to try and make your controls, or what they want to be, what you want them to look like, or whatever is up to you. But I'm going to Control C, copy that, and then Control Shift V, paste in place. The second copy I will make a little bit smaller. Maybe that's not small enough, but make that a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool. So if you don't see that, you can find it under the window and bring it up. And I'm just going to subtract the smaller one from the bigger one. And then I'm going to use the Pathfinder tool again, but this time I'm going to just create a rectangle and use that rectangle to subtract from this shape. Then what I'm going to do is use the Polygon Tool. Now, mine's already a triangle, but how this works is that as you're holding down the mouse button, you can hit up and down on your arrow keys to reduce the number of edges or increase them. So I can flip that around, get that matched up as best as I can. Oops, I'm using Maya controls when I am not in Maya. I just tried Control D to duplicate that. Hopefully that's lined up correctly. And then I can grab all these and just hit Unite, and that will turn this into one shape. So now what I can do, I actually like this new one better a little bit. The other one, the arrows were too big. Now what I can do is just save this out, this shape, as another Illustrator file. But I want to save it as, I believe it has to be Illustrator 8, something a little bit older. You might want to check online what that needs to be, but I'm going to save that out. And then back in Maya, I can say create Adobe Illustrator object. And then bring that in. Now, first of all, it brought both of them in, even though one of them was hidden, so don't really want that. Second of all, it brought them in as polygons, which is also a little hairy. So I'm actually going to delete those. Try that again, except this time I'm going to check my settings, bring them in as curves. And now I can just delete this one if I don't want it. And I just made a duplicate of that to kind of free it from whatever weird input settings were on it. And now I have this nice little curve thing here. I can modify center pivot and then use my boxes up here to send that back to the middle of my scene. And basically, now that I have this, I can start to design my controls. So I'll need one of them to be laid flat. And you'll notice that right now, both of these objects have the exact same pivot point. And if I want to move something without affecting the pivot point, I can go into control vertex mode, which you can do either just by right-clicking and selecting it, or by going up here and turning into component editing mode. And so I can have one control that is, oops, I missed one there. I can have one control that's kind of like in the back here, and that's going to be to rotate my camera in the y-axis side to side. I can duplicate that and have another one, which is to, oh, actually this one I might want to rotate like this as well. And again, I don't really like the placement of this, so I can grab control vertex mode and kind of place my control where I want it. I don't really want that to be in the view of the camera. And if I wanted to make another one for tilting the camera in Z, I could, just by aligning that. How would that one? I guess that one would be like this. And again, these don't all have to be the same. They don't have to, you can, put them wherever makes sense to you, but for me, I'm just going to reuse this one thing here. And of course, after that, you'd want to name them properly. So this would be cam tilt, or cam, I might call this like Dutch angle or something. This can be tilt up, down, cam, pan, side to side. And again, name these whatever makes sense to you. You don't have to use the same names as me. And this, of course, can be shot cam. And I want this one to be underneath the side to side to be underneath. Actually, I want this to be there and this to be there. So I want the side to side to kind of control everything. And then within that, I can move it up and down. And then within that, I can move it in Z if needed. Of course, I need to actually put my camera in there too. Oh, I did forget one important thing. Sorry, since I was kind of rushing through here, and that is that I didn't freeze the transformations on any of my controls. So those are going to be causing all sorts of issues when I'm trying to animate the fact that these have are not at 0. So I'm going to freeze transformations, and that should go down and apply to everything in the hierarchy. And then I can put my camera back. And of course, you'd need a move control as well. I would probably make a separate controller that I don't necessarily want that to look the same as these ones, but the move controller could just be perhaps a locator, or if you want to make a like a master, or like a omnidirectional looking control in Illustrator or whatever, that's fine, whatever works. And now this one can move my whole thing around. And just to make sure that I don't see that locator in my camera, which I don't think I can anyway, it doesn't seem to be showing up. So that should be fine, but I could just make sure that this one does not have locators checked on in my viewport, so it won't show them. And then we're just going to do the same thing that we did in class. And that makes it so that my things are locked and I can't accidentally animate on the wrong one. And so that will allow me to start setting keyframes, of course, and use my controls like I actually have a tripod, rather than just trying to animate my camera throughout the entire scene without any separation between the rotation axes. Beautiful. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. Really, you know, if you're in my class, then we looked at this already, just not with Illustrator stuff. But you can use this technique to make Illustrator controls for full character rigs or anything else that you need to put controls on, and it will work really good. Oh, sorry. I mean, really well. All right, that's going to be it, and thanks for watching.